Oh. Huh. Oh. Huh. Hmm. Hmm.
Why don't you have a look first?
Do not tell me you are afraid of the dark.
Not the dark, just pitch black, eerie passages in old churches. Poirot, where are we?
If I am not mistaken, this is part of the secret tunnels that were built hundreds of years ago to sneak those that did not agree with the powers of the country out.
And why exactly are we in here?
The why must never be obvious. That is the whole point.
Right.
Ah. Ah. Aha. We have our third forgery. There is evidence of a much more modern painting on the back of the canvas.
Thank goodness. Don't know how I would explain finding the original in such a state.
Bishop Mountjoy must have discovered the painting that he received from Mademoiselle Courtsmythe was one of her forgeries.
And lashed out. Now it makes sense. He's been using this room to store his own private art collection. I can picture him sitting here smug as anything, surrounded by stolen paintings.
What I find most unfortunate
is that not only does he deprive the world of beauty and joy from seeing these works, but he also keeps them in such dark and dank conditions, the old fool. He's even having to light his candle clock to keep from drifting off down here. Such a waste, don't you think, Poirot?
One's opinions are now worth listening to.
I was only voicing my thoughts.
You have thoughts beside those of Mademoiselle Farquhar?
Really, Poirot? You still think so little of me?
When one exclaims such regard for a suspect in a murder investigation, it is hard not to think any other way and comment so.
You may not be so accustomed to the idea of showing, or at least having, some form of empathy for our fellow man.
There is a difference between empathy and lust.
And there is a difference between commenting and being rude and obnoxious.
I was not expecting Monsieur Hastings to be so sensitive on the matter. Perhaps this conversation is best saved for when we are not trapped together.
What was that? Oh, just the bishop's candle clock. I don't know about you, but I've had enough of this place. Let's get out of here. What are you doing, Poirot?
S'il vous plaît, un moment.
The bishop's candle clock has forced me to question everything of the murder scene that I previously thought I knew. We must return to Mademoiselle Courtsmythe's apartment.
Perhaps that is a job best left for you, by yourself.
Huh. Oh. Huh. Mm-hmm. Oh. Aha. Ah. Ah.
Et maintenant?
Oh.
I believed myself to be the greatest detective in the most prestigious police force in the world. But I have been duped and swindled, falling directly into the trap laid by the killer. And now I stand here alone, contemplating what is to come next. Monsieur Hastings was quick to make his excuses to retire to his abode and not return to the scene of the crime by my side. I hope there is not something further that troubles him. One does not need added strains at a time when steps must be retraced and a new timeline considered. Sacré! I have spent my time staring into the sun when deceit and deception has taken place in the shadows. A murderer remains free, but the truth of the fire eludes Detective Hercule Poirot no more, and soon neither will their identity. I cannot believe I allowed myself to fall for such a deceptive move. The killer knew I would ask for an alibi, and they knew how to cover their tracks perfectly. Now, though, I have the upper hand. The killer believes that I have extinguished all avenues of my questioning, unaware I know the truth of the fire. I wish Monsieur Hastings were here. I was perhaps too harsh with him. I know of his want for the same as I, the truth. But now I fear that I have lost him to my own tenacious demeanor. Now more than ever do I need my little grey cells working at full capacity. Monsieur Demire and Mademoiselle Babagna. I am glad to say that they both still have alibis, as the show had just reached its second act. I can be sure that neither was involved. Mademoiselle Farquhar. She claims that she was in the dark room developing pictures, and even with this new discovery, her alibi stands. Monsieur Dryden can confirm. Monsieur Christiansen, one of my key suspects, drinking alone except for a brief encounter with Monsieur Demire. But Madame Allen can substantiate his trip to see her at the theatre to apologize during the intermission. Which leads us to the good Madame Allen, on stage performing Innocent. A side note, I must make an effort to see her production. From what I have heard, she sounds quite captivating. The Honorable Bishop Mountjoy. His Compline prayers had not yet begun, but Mademoiselle Warbeck and he were together in what I can only imagine to be an uncomfortable meeting for them both. Her innocence has already been confirmed, although upon learning of how she has been treated, I would not have been surprised. Last but certainly not least, Monsieur Aylesworth. And the article in the newspaper documenting his, as some see, heroic speech amongst the House of Commons is alibi enough for the murder. And where are we left now? Every suspect seemingly as innocent as they were yesterday. But when one looks most innocent, that is when Detective Poirot is most suspicious.
Finally, a face I can trust.
Everything all right, Poirot?
I'm afraid things could not be further from all right.
Don't tell me the famous Detective Poirot is stumped.
Stumped? No. Perplexed? Oui. Perhaps you can be my perfect distraction.
I may not be the celebrated doctor that my father hoped for, but I still like to keep up with recent medical journals.
And what is the latest discovery?
This particular article is about the effect of cocaine on the user's body. I thought I liked to have a good time, but that drug, too much for me.
What makes you say that?
I wouldn't want my heart beating at the speed of a locomotive. Here, read for yourself. I haven't actually. I gave him my office telephone number and said he could call anytime, but not a peep.
You sound surprised.
Yeah, he probably wants to keep his health issues out of the public eye. Hence me offering to help, but he seems to be just fine, surprisingly. Do you think there is a chance he could have faked it all? How those little gray cells of yours work sometimes. Amazing!
Please, my friend.
You're serious? Don't know why, but I suppose he could have.
At this point, anything is a possibility. I think a visit to Monsieur Aylesworth at the Royal Society of Art is in order. Mademoiselle Babagna, a pleasure as always.
Good morning, gentlemen.
I'm afraid my pleasantries are to be cut short this morning. I have a most pressing matter.